When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So, finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content, anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Daigan, and this is
#managed.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of #managed. I'm so excited because my beautiful and wonderful co-host Jessica is finally back with us for yet probably our favorite episode. If you know, you know. But welcome back, Jess.
Thank you, Madeline, for holding down the fort for all things #manage. Also, shout out to Harmony, who you guys did that episode, which I'm also thinking Harmony's going to hear this. I'm thinking I have major FOMO of you two doing the episode. We need like a trio episode, so I'm gonna just put that in our podcast planning. But yeah, so really happy to be back. It's been a pretty roller coaster. I'm just gonna say it like that. Past couple of weeks. Full trigger warning, but if you really want to know why I've been out, you can go to Instagram at #managed at Social Savvy HQ. Honestly, I did the collaboration post. I took a note out of our own book and did that. But I did a full post really opening up about where I've been the past couple of weeks and what I've been dealing with. And if you want to know more about kind of where my heart is with that and where I'm going moving forward, then that's there. But that's my little spiel here because I'm just so excited to be back recording with Madeline. I'm like, before we hit record, I'm a little nervous. Like, I'm like doing the like voice exercises. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like so nervous to record, even though we're just like sitting here, like in our rooms recording the show, like we did months, a month prior. So but yeah, I'm excited to be back and we're in summer. I feel like I've like missed the start of summer, like that nostalgic feeling. I've been seeing that so many places on social media, like people making summer mood boards. And I think it just really plays into nostalgia marketing, which I know we've talked about so many times. But yeah, just excited to be back.
Okay, I have a few questions. What are you reading? If you're reading anything, what are you watching? If you're watching anything, and anything else I need to know
Okay.
and be
So,
influenced on.
yes. Okay. So I actually have not been reading at all,
Okay.
which is so funny because I've been talking to a lot of friends about books they're reading. And right now I'm kind of being like book matchmaker. Like someone's like, "Hey, I want to read this like thriller." I'm like, "This is great, but I've got three other suggestions as well that you need to read
Mhm.
next." Um, I downloaded it on my Kindle and I haven't started yet. I was honestly planning on doing it on the July 4th holiday, like sitting at the pool or sitting at the beach, whatever our plans are. It's a few days away and we don't even know what they are, but it's fine. But I'm gonna read the next Mrs. Parrish. So I believe that's the sequel to the last Mrs. Parrish. And I hope I'm not like mixing those titles up, but if you guys Google it, then you can see the release dates and correct me if I'm wrong. But I am gonna read that book when I can get to it this weekend. So that's on my to be read list that I'll read and I'll update on what I think about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's see, what have I been watching? I've been watching a couple of really random shows and I've been binging everything on Netflix, which I feel like is always my go-to thing. I probably pay for all of the other streaming services, but it's pretty rare that I'm like watching something on there, which I just probably should get in the habit of watching those more often because then Ryan's like, we need to cut our expenses. Those were going, and then I'm like, no, I want to watch this. And so anyway, Netflix is always my go-to. Even though I get kicked off of my family's Netflix, like so many of us did, and I now have to like pay for my own. It's just I don't know. It's still like the one streaming platform for me. But I've been binging a couple of different series on Netflix, and I haven't binged Bridgerton season 3 yet, which it's part 1. So I feel like I could also wait till part 2 comes out.
No, part 2
Um,
is out now. Part
oh,
2
it is.
is out
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna save both part 1 and part 2 for when I jump in and watch it.
Yes.
Um, So yeah, so I haven't watched that yet, but I've been binge watching from start to finish, and I just finished it like a week and a half ago. But Reba, which is a really like old like TV
Mhm.
sitcom, and I really like TV sitcoms. I don't know, there's just something about them. They're so cheesy, so corny, but it's just a really good thing to just throw on TV and
Mhm.
just kind of sit there and like watch it. And honestly, it's kind of funny. Like now that I think about it, like there's some really like funny like back and forth. But I'm pretty sure my family is probably over me watching it even though it's done now. 'Cause it's like 25-minute episodes and then it like kicks off with her singing the
Mm,
um
mhm.
the, like, "I'm a Survivor" song, and so anyway, but, so I've been watching that, and then next up, I think it, like, just came out as well, but it wasn't a ton. I think it's, again, another thing, like, Netflix is really into the part 1, part 2s, but my sister and I watched that '90s show, and her and I both love that '70s show.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not the
I
same.
just That's so funny because I actually think I started watching one episode of that, like,
Mhm.
maybe a week or 2 ago, and for whatever reason, I like, again, similar like, I just watched the first episode, and I think it was very much similar to what you're saying where it's not the same, but at the same time, I do it's still on my like, I want to watch it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the third and final thing that I've been binging that I just actually started is very even more random if it could be, but I feel like that's just Netflix in general. I've been binge watching Owning Manhattan, and I don't know why, but the super corny Owning Manhattan, Selling Sunset, like, they all s there's so many other, like, versions. I know there's, like, some random, like, Hamptons ones. They did, like, a Selling Tampa at one time. I think that didn't get picked up for another season, but I always love the first seasons of those because it's just, it's like $1,000,000, like, like $1,000,000 listings. And then it gets,
Mhm.
like, into the full-fledged drama, like any Netflix show is. But yeah, so that is my third and final random thing that I've been binge watching on Netflix. But other than that, I feel like I've been, yeah, just consuming a lot of content. I feel like there's been so many things like happening and on my feed, but like Maddie and Harmony and even Madeline's been covering it all while I've been out for the past couple weeks. So I feel like we're staying up to date on our reporting on what's on our feed. So that's been good. But what about you, Madeline? What are you reading, watching, all the things?
Yes. Okay, so I've told you all that Bren and I, like, we just don't watch anything. We can never find anything together. The last
Mhm.
thing we watched was Masters of the Air, which, if again, you all know when it came out, I was obsessing over and still obsess over because I love it so much. But when we first started dating, we actually read like a Brennan likes to read, however, he, like, mainly reads, like, articles on websites, but
Mhm.
he is, like, bookish too. So anyways, like,
Mhm.
I expressed to him where I was like, "I really want us to, like, read a book together again," and, like, I said he chose this book, he says I somehow tricked him into this book. I don't think I did, but it's called Courage is Calling, and it's by Ryan Holiday, and it's a philosophy book, and so, like, n it's
Ooh.
I told him, I was like, "I kinda want us to read a book that I wouldn't normally pick, like, that he would pick," you know? So, he is very into philosophy and everything, so I'm really excited about this. He's choosing to listen to it.
Mhm.
You guys know I like a good like, I need it in my hands. So, so far so good, and just I don't like, I really like them again, it's all about courage and fear, and just I feel like this is a book that is good that I'm reading right now, like, in my 30s. So, again, I just turned 30. Here I am saying in my
Mhm.
30s. But anyways, so that's what I'm currently reading. Surprisingly, you guys know all 3 of us, Harmony and Jessica and I, all I feel like normally when we all are reading, we are reading, like, multiple books, but right now
Mhm.
it's just this one. But then for my
Okay.
shows, what I'm watching is The Bear. So you know how you were just
Oh.
saying where it's, like, your subscriptions that you don't normally I'm very similar where it's, like, I feel like Netflix is also the normal, like the streaming system that I go to. Um, but the bear, obsessed, went to school in Chicago and like I feel like I'm there like when again watching it. So I'm obsessed with it.
Mhm.
Haven't finished it, but that is what I've been reading and watching.
Ooh,
And
I
yeah.
like it. I've heard really good things about The Bear, so I feel
It's
like
so
I
good. It's
yeah,
so
I'll
good.
definitely watch
It's so
because I think
good.
it's also a good, like, Ryan series as well, and that, like,
Ooh.
sometimes
Mm.
we go back and forth on, like, what we can watch, too, and definitely
Yes,
read, so but I love the idea.
yes, no, and I will say I feel like I have heard it's funny because all my friends who again, majority of my friends are married, but The Bear is something they watch with their husbands, and I think Brennan just he doesn't wanna give into it because even his coworker, Cole, was like, "Do you" he Brennan was telling me this, he was like, "Do you watch The Bear?" And he's like, "No, but Madeline does." Like, so I'm
Mhm,
like,
that's so
"See?
funny.
It is good." But it's he I will say though, it is like it's very
Yeah,
drama filled and it's why I like it and I relate to it in a way is because the family is very dysfunctional. That's not just we my family can be dysfunctional, but it's just like where it's like they're yelling and that was very much how I grew up. So
mhm, perfect.
anyways.
Yeah, I love that, I love that. Well, I know I'm a little rusty, but should we get into the water cooler for this week? I feel like we say this
Yes.
every time, but I think this was a really good one.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. This week's water cooler says, "Hi guys, I've been asked by an independent travel agent to manage her page, but she only has basic pictures given to her from a website and doesn't want to show her face. Does anyone have any ideas on how I can work with this? She has said she's happy to show her face in the odd story with much persuasion. I just don't know how her audience is going to resonate with her if she's only posting standard from the website, hotel, and holiday pics. Any ideas welcome."
This one is
Um,
good. Do you want me to start off with this
yeah,
one,
I'm
Madeline,
like,
or
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
you start."
Okay, so okay, I feel like I'm a little rusty, like, in my whole, like, experience and advice giving,
Mm,
but I think so one thing that's always so interesting to me when because I have these conversations with, like, potential new clients and even newer clients as well, is they always get in the mindset of they don't wanna be, like, the content creator or, like, the face of the brand. And I think for a lot of industries, like, they are the face of the brand, and
mhm,
I think for them, it's hard to mirror being the face of the brand, like, working with clients. So this is a travel agent, so working with clients to I'm not sure the specific types of travel that she or they book, um, but they're forward client facing, and I think that there's a lot of, there's a lot of just stigma around being the face behind the brand where sometimes you don't necessarily need to do so much. Like, you don't need to be physically in front of the camera every single day. I imagine if you were creating their content strategy for their travel agency business, then you're probably sharing a lot of other content around like the process of booking travel, like the benefits of a travel agent, which I think most people don't even know. They just think like, oh, like added travel cost. But then in the long run, it actually could save you a ton of money. So, like, there's probably a lot of different ideas around it in that way. But I think pulling in the client in any way into content is something that either can be done or can't. And I don't know if that's just too much of a bold statement, but I feel like in just my experience of working with clients, they're either more than willing to be in content or it is going to be the number one thing that they are, for lack of a better phrase, kicking and screaming about doing. And I think from experience, if someone is forcing content, like they're like, I don't want to sit my camera on a tripod and talk to a camera, or I don't want to do a photo shoot, like if they are forcing it, we're going to see that. in the content. Like,
Mhm.
we're gonna hear it in
Mhm.
their voice in the video, we're gonna see it in the photos that they're in, and if we see it, their clients and their social media followers are gonna see it. I think there's a lot of ways that you can kind of implement your clients being in the strategy. One thing when we were all kind of, like, planning this episode, we were talking around, like, faceless marketing. I feel 2 ways about faceless marketing. I think it's a good strategy to incorporate in your content strategy. So, like, faceless videos are, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There's no person, there's no human in it. It's just an object. It's a, it's a plane flying, or it's a, it's
Ocean.
right,
The
right. It's
ocean, the
some sort of,
waves.
yes, like, visual element. I think it definitely works in a content strategy. Now, as a 100% content strategy, I don't think it works, because at the end of the day, people buy from people. So I would say my advice is just figure out what you can do, to add to supplement the content that can be faceless. I know Madeline uses a couple of, like, resources that I'm sure she can share with us again. But figure out that, and also figure out, like, the voice that your client can bring to the social media content. Um, I think that can be in a couple of different ways. They can send voice notes. I like taking client voice notes, of course, with their full permission. That can be turned into a reel on a faceless video. I mean, there's a lot of, like, opportunities around how you can kind of go about it, but you really should encourage your client in one way or another to get visible in the branding on social media, if that answers that.
And I'll also say too, get them sometimes. Ugh, there isn't a lot I wanna say. There's one point I wanna make, but I feel like I'm about to go in circles. I will say, you get more comfortable, or so I've seen, when you maybe with your client, you ask them just to maybe start in the stories, showing their faces in the stories, and then working their way into the reels and other type of content. Because even myself lately, like, it's been a hot minute since it's not been a hot minute. I've started to slowly come back into it, like showing my face in stories. But this is coming from me where I don't know about you, Jess, but I almost feel more comfortable talking to my stories, or talking on my stories than on reels right away. And and some people
Mhm.
are opposite. I feel like they feel more comfortable with reels than they do stories, but it's all about practice too, I think. And again, for a travel agent, yeah, you are for like it's almost like they're talking to a client, and that always helps too is pretend you're talking to one client versus like however many followers you have, because that can be scary
Yeah,
too. Um
yeah,
so I would just say, practice, practice, practice. And
yeah.
I feel like that's been kind of a common theme lately in the podcast, where it's just when I was telling you when it was solo episodes, where the first solo episode, and even now, even with Jessica back, where it's like we still get nervous, we still have to practice, where
Mhm,
we can sit here and say, yeah, we're social media managers, like this comes easy for us, but I know it's still
mhm.
intimidating. It's still scary to put yourself out
Yeah.
there. So, I feel like making your client feel seen and heard in that way too can help.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because in their head too, they could be thinking like, "Wow, they expect so much from me, and I don't know if I can deliver XYZ." Sometimes the video piece just it I think from my experience, it really just comes down to confidence. And I know I go through
Mhm.
waves of confidence, and I think, we could probably do an episode all around it too, but sometimes I think I, like, have to, like, almost, like, cycle sync when I'm creating content and just
Mhm.
doing business things in
Yes.
general. Because I think
Yes.
confidence really plays into that. So, okay, well, I'm sure topic for another day, but yeah, I hope that's helpful if you're dealing with, like, a um similar thing for your clients as well for video content.
Yeah. And again, we love cycle syncing here on hashtag managed. And really we should just do a full episode on cycle syncing. But
Yeah.
should we move on? Okay, so there isn't any show me the numbers today. right? Yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
show me the
Yeah.
numbers, but we again will make up for that in our on our feed. And I'm again, you all know this is my favorite. So, what has been on your feed, Jessica?
All right. I have to say full disclosure, guys that are listening, because I have to be really transparent here as well. I had something completely different 20 minutes before we hit record on this podcast episode because I was so sure that I was going to kind of talk more about last week's episode where Madeline was talking around she talked about a couple of things on her feed, but I think it was the last one with Limited 2 coming back, and we've been as a team like in Slack like absolute fangirling. I think it just kind of shows like you know, we're women, so don't want to put our age on blast too much, but it shows the age of our team. And we're so excited and have a lot of thoughts around it anyway. And so I was thinking about that, which I'm sure we'll still talk about it because I think this is like the hottest thing this summer. I'm gonna just call it right now.
Yes. Mhm.
So but what I did want to share that's been on my feed because I saw this yesterday and TikTok keeps showing it to me, and I guess there's like two parts to it. And so if you guys are on TikTok, search in the search bar Poppy Cosmetics. It's POPPI, really similar to Drink Poppy, but it's Poppy Cosmetics. I have never heard of this cosmetics brand before. I did a little like kind of mini research behind the brand. I think they're a small company. I think they sell on Amazon. That's really all I can really figure out from online. So I think that goes as a little reminder that your website really matters. So sidebar on that. But they had an intern. Her name is Olivia. And she's gone absolutely viral on both videos. I think both hitting like upwards of like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million views on each video. And she's talking about her how her internship has ended. And so if you guys listen to her internship episode, then you know how Madeline and I feel about that episode. If you haven't, scroll back a couple and listen to that. But regardless of a paid or an unpaid internship, you deserve just like you deserve to be in a role where you are like welcomed and respected. Let's just say respected. I think that's the simplest term to put on that. So Olivia the intern made a video talking about how her internship, from her point of view, has ended because she goes to text her boss for the internship, which I'm going to go out on a limb from what I've seen in the videos and seen of the company. I'm going to say they're really small. And I'm going to say the internship boss is the owner of the company. I'm trying to like put two and two together, and I don't think it's any more complex than that. And I think it's funny because so many people in the comments are like, you should go to HR, you should go to HR. And I'm reading this from my perspective as a business owner and social media manager. And I'm like, the boss that fired her in this way is HR because she's wearing multiple hats and she's not doing it
Mhm.
properly, but she is. So text her boss about something, doesn't hear back. A full day passes. She's like, that's weird. That's just weird behavior. She's been working with her in the internship since March. And so none of her messages are being responded to. She goes the next day to log into the company TikTok. She's kicked out. Okay. Sometimes that could be a little glitch. Sometimes that happens. Enters password, password incorrect. Okay. Password has been changed and she's been kicked out of the company TikTok. She's been blocked from the company and the founder on all of her social media accounts. I think she shared that she goes to a school in Boston. And she also shared this, which I love it. She shared that she's a horse girl and she has a horse girl Instagram account. That account has been blocked from everything as well. And I don't remember exactly what the intern said she does, but for her school's like a equestrian program, she has access to their Instagram account. And she didn't even know that the company that she was interning for knew that she had access to that Instagram account, but they're blocked too. Like, the amount
Oh.
of work that this boss went in to block her, like, just wow. I feel like that just alone is so crazy. And so many people in the comments are like, you should speak to HR. I don't think there's an HR.
No.
There's so many things wrong with that. But, now this company has I think they have a decent following of like 40 to 50K on TikTok and Instagram from what I could see. They now have all comments turned off. I mean, you know, this is something where every video was getting comments like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then what I saw from the video that I watched about the intern, someone commented like, "Hey, they still have your TikTok as one of their pinned TikToks." It, like, had gone viral, and they still had it
Oh,
pinned after. So it's absolutely mind-blowing to me that this has happened, and it just again, it really it just makes me so mad. My blood just boils because this is
yeah.
something that internships are such great opportunities. We talked about it in that episode, so again, spoiler alert. They're great opportunities in getting your feet in the door, but sometimes there are just some really bad business owners that take advantage of an unpaid intern. Um, and that's my soapbox, but I just think it's just so interesting to me, like, how a brand of the caliber that they are because they sell on Amazon, and I know with selling on Amazon, there's so many hoops that you have to go through just to keep Amazon happy and to stay on their platform and all of that. So it would just really blow my mind that they would put that at jeopardy for an internship to d yeah, I'm mind blown.
Well
Madeline, I need to hear your thoughts.
well, and you pointed out too that their, like, tagline or it's in their bio and it says cruelty free, but not drama free. And I'm like, well, we are clearly living up to that one.
Yeah,
And maybe
I
that was a part of her plan, or I don't know, but wow.
yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I'm gonna spoiler alert again. I know obviously you guys know what the topic of this episode is, but one of my social media icks is a mean girl mentality on
Mm,
social media. I think that goes that can be talked about in so many different ways. To
mhm.
me, this gives mean girl energy in so many ways of how she's taking advantage of the intern that you would even intern, employee, whoever, that you would just completely cut them off. And I think what the my last thing that I'll add to it as well, one thing that I've noticed, and this is just something I've just noticed after so many years in business, um, and even now I feel like, we're in year 5, but people still do this to me to this day, and I think it's absolutely crazy, is just the lack of communication. And it stems across the board. It's people who, like, will send a DM, or people who will, like, book a discovery call, or even a new client, even a client that we've been working with for a few months will just out of nowhere, they've just decided they don't want to communicate anymore. And I would love to be involved in that memo that you're just gonna completely, like, ghost, but it's something that I'm sure it happens to a lot of people who are new starting out in business. Because I think when you're new, you're kind of you're, like, getting your footing down, and you're trying to figure out what it's like working with clients, and maybe sometimes you don't have the best boundaries set up, whereas I feel like sometimes I'm a little bit more, like, advanced, and people still, like, have lack of communication for, like, me, and I would never in a million years, and maybe that's just the difference of some entrepreneurs versus others. Like, if I'm the person, if I'm hiring for a role, like, I wanna reach out to, like, all the other billion people to, like, let them know, like, that they didn't get it, like, kinda move on, that kind of thing. I know with a
Mhm.
lot of tools anyway, you can do that automatically. So just in my head, I'm just thinking, "Just do it." But anyway, I'll get back to what I was talking about, but it's one of those things where, and I think we talked about this before, I know we, like, both have, like, a background in PR, but the whole, like, bad publicity is good publicity. I think some brands just I don't think they, like, fully know, like, what that specific statement means, or they think about it in a context of, "That's my marketing strategy." I don't know, that's my
Mm.
last little,
Mhm.
like,
Nope.
tip.
No, I'd yeah. I just I'm processing still because it blows my mind. Like, cause as you all know, I work in the beauty industry, like with beauty professionals and beauty brands, and I'm just thinking, let's say that this were my client, Poppy was my client. Like, I don't even know if I know how to go back from that. Like, I would honestly
Mhm.
tell the founder, so if the founder's listening, you can't like, you have to come out. Like, I would be like, "You have to come out and say, like, take full ownership," and, like, because here's the
Yep.
thing too, like, here's you have to rip the Band-Aid off. It's gonna suck. Like, you
Yeah.
dug your grave, now you gotta lie in it for a little bit, but here's the good news, like, it will pass over. I do think that people like Jessica and I would, like that's gonna we're gonna know. I don't know if
Yeah.
we'll ever buy from your company ever, but, where I think that goes along with almost, like, cancel culture too, like, in a s like where if you the bad press, where
Mhm.
it's like but how you go about handling that bad press, and if you want to, like,
Yeah.
do a 180, you know, that's what I would advise. Again, not that she's listening, not that they're listening, but
Right.
that is what I would
Right.
advise.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I agree with you, like, 100%. Like, I feel like as a founder, I would like, own it
Mhm.
100% because there's no other excuse. There's
Mm-mm.
no other excuse. Like, and even Olivia the intern mentioned it in her video. She was like, I gave her benefit of the doubt. Like, are you in meetings all day? Like, even think about that. Even think about those days where you just have a jam-packed schedule, or maybe you just have like a terrible day. Like, little dark rain cloud over your head,
Mhm.
bad thing happens, and you're just like, "You know what? I'm gonna shut everything down, come back the next day." You don't come back the next day and completely kick everyone out of TikTok and, block on all the accounts and kind of go that level, but I think owning it would be so important. I think it's one of those things as well where, she comes out and takes ownership, but also, like, what are you gonna do to course correct?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you should change your company's mission and values 100%. Those need to be evaluated if they're not there. I mean, just, think about it in that sense. I would also, like, are there any other employees there? Thinking about, like, what I didn't even think about that. Like, are there other interns, like, who are working for this company? Like, I think that's, like, a really interesting, like, thing to think about as well. And then, there's probably nothing that they could do for Olivia. I would love to hope since I think she's a senior. So I would love to hope that someone is, like, watching her and can see, like, where she's at. Like, some big company, like a Poppy Cosmetics competitor is gonna swoop in and, like, scoop her up.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yep, yep. I
that
love that.
is, like, the ultimate, I think, end game for her. So, I think that would be so fun, but yeah, so that's that's what's on my feed. Madeline, what's on your feed? Hopefully something on a lighter note.
So, I am going to piggyback off of last week, and because I just feel like you even said this on our, like, previous like, when we were planning this episode, and that is the Limited 2 relaunch and how it is the summer. She is the moment. She is summer 2024, and so they had their launch party. So last week when was talking about it, it was leading up to the launch party. I think that from what I've seen, I don't think that it is going to be for millennials, but I want you to just talk about like what we were talking about before because I'm just like I think it's genius and I think there's missed opportunities. And just okay, wait, I will say one more thing before I let you take over. But that is like again, I think that the launch party was very cute. They had, like candy bar, they had mocktails again leading cuz like if it's not going to be for millennials, like obviously they're targeting are not of age within drinking. I was looking at all the influencers that they did invite though, which like they did invite some of those like the TikTokers who will like their whole TikTok personality is about like it's nostalgia and it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
tapping tapping into, into the early 2000s. And, um, I don't know, like, I really liked the influencers that they invited. Um, One thing I will say that I talked with Jessica about before too is, if you guys recall, again, if you're millennials, and more so elder millennial maybe, but like I have questions. I just have so many questions. Like, are these going to be in malls? Are we
Mhm,
going to have the photo booths? Because if you know, you know, like in Limited 2, like there was the photo booth and you and your friends, like it kind of had Libby Lou, but again, it wasn't Libby Lou because it wasn't a makeover. But
mhm.
you would go in and you could get little sticker, like you would it was a photo booth, and like, yeah, you could print the pictures, but you could also get them as stickers, which I just find funny because I still have those. Like, I still have those. And like their feed kind of hinted at that, but it's like I didn't see a photo booth at the launch party. So like there was one missed opportunity.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I'm obviously following along. I'm obviously invested, but yeah, I'm just gonna be really sad if there's not, like,
Yeah,
just yeah, I want Libby Lou, or I want Limited Too. I also can we also bring back Libby Lou though, because
right.
I feel
Yes,
like I've
yes,
said that on an episode before. Like, let's bring back
yes.
Libby Lou.
Yeah, you definitely did. When we were talking about the whole, like, Sephora, like, Gen
Yeah.
Alpha craze, like yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I think so. I think too, I really hope whoever's on the marketing team for Limited Too, I hope you're reading those Instagram comments. Like, get in there and read those comments and bring it to every social media social meeting that you're having, because there's so much gold inside of that at this moment. I think there's so many fun opportunities that I think they could have done to really market this. I mean, obviously, like they're, still kind of in their pre-launch like phase as well. But I think one thing that I know we've talked about, like obviously, like Madeline and I both love like Taylor Swift, genius marketer,
Mhm.
love her,
Mhm.
obviously.
Mhm.
Um, I think Haley Road Bieber is also
Mm.
genius marketer as
Mhm.
well. I think everything that she does for Road, all of the touch points and the creative direction, I just think it's so spot on as well. And I think she takes similar pages out of the T Swift marketing book where it's leading up to different things and everything makes sense in the way that it's set up. And I think for Limited to whoever is in charge of those decisions needs to do the same thing, because there's so much market there for millennials are who love nostalgia content, but like millennials, just that generation in general, like we will spend our money because we're the
Mhm.
generation who has, we have massive buying power. And we're going to spend our money on all of those things. And so, to Madeline's point, there was no photo booth at the event, which I think would have just been so fun, because think about how many people it would hit that nostalgia chord and they would just automatically feel so connected to seeing all the influencers there. Of course, all the like Y2K songs and all of that that was included, I think were really awesome touches. But I think that, like Madeline said, missed opportunity in that as well. One thing that I noticed, because obviously their website doesn't have a ton,
Right, I
Instagram's
was
kind of
just pulled
slowly
that up.
rolling out. Yeah, Instagram's slowly rolling out. I think TikTok has nothing. One thing that is so funny that I think they're leaning more so on Instagram right now and like Instagram stories. And so a part of me is like, I think they do understand their target audience because they're there right now. And again, there's opportunities for that. When I went on their Pinterest, because it was linked on the website, their handle is at limited to 87. And at first in my head, I was like, wait, they couldn't get limited to, which honestly, that might be taken. Who knows? But then I thought about it. I love it because I looked up, that's like the year it was established, right? So that's like in their IG bio. So I'm like, okay, it's not too random. but I'm like, that gives me major nostalgia for, like, an AIM username where
Mhm.
you're putting, like, fun things or your name and, like, letters and all of that, year you're born or just your favorite number or anything like that, which I thought was so fun. I think using Pinterest for a pre-launch would make so much sense to, again, lay
Chef's
those Easter
kiss.
eggs for
Mhm.
what's happening with the launch. The other thing that I just thought of as well, Madeline, is again leaning on the whole like AIM username, like, AOL instant message.
Mhm.
Like, why? I know AIM does not exist anymore. I know it was like,
Ugh, RIP. I
continued
know,
for
like
right. Like discontinued forever ago, but leaning into like either like an Instagram broadcast channel or like even like a group text on like some platform or like a
mhm.
community like messaging community app. I know there's so many different ones of those. Like leaning into the whole AOL things, I think would be so fun, and I think it needs to really take on like what AOL was, right? Remember there was like different rooms and like you're probably
Yeah.
messaging at like 10, 11 p.m. at night. Like that's when those messages need to go out. I'm sorry, social media manager who's in charge of that. Like set an alarm on your phone, wake up,
Yeah.
like send the message, but really take on and embody that piece of the nostalgia. And I think would make so much sense. And I think the other thing for limited to, I know like Madeline said, like, we're really hoping, like, we're ready with our credit cards if they're actually launching things for us, and I hope it's not more so for, like, Gen Alpha, um, and I guess, like, younger Gen Z, but it could be. But I think there's so much opportunity for, um, like, collaborations and, like, capsules with these really, like, influential millennial women who
Mhm.
could, like, bring their style, who honestly, I mean, right, fashion is, cyclical, so there's so many different styles out anyway, but long story short, Mal and I are working on our formal pitch for how we can handle everything limited to marketing.
Because
But
we wanna be at the next party, like, oh my gosh,
correct.
like, again, like, I'm like, I wanna be there.
Yeah.
Um, okay, wait, sorry, as we were talking about this, I did think of one other thing that was on my feed, and, like, I'm just gonna briefly say it and probably put a pin in it for next week, and that is the Olympics. The
Oh,
Olympics, right,
yes.
and also just, like okay, so I'm putting a pin in that, but maybe that should even be next week's episode, I don't know, maybe that was just an
Yeah,
Easter egg, but, like, all
yeah.
the marketing behind the Olympics because humble brag, I went to high school with Olympians, like, so Samantha Pesic, who is
Mm,
actually reporting on the women's gymnastics, she did the trials and, like, she's gonna be in Paris. I went to
mhm,
school with her, and it's so coo and her sister Jessica was in my grade, like and also my best friend Jordan, who I feel like I've told you guys about, like, literally competed with these Olympians, so, like, I am pumped for these Summer Olympics and just
mhm.
Simone Biles, like,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
just like, that's all we need to say is Simone, like so,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, okay.
Leaving
We
leaving
definitely
that for
should.
next week.
Yep, next week episode mapped out. We've already got that
Okay.
planned, so,
Yep.
yep.
So, teaser, sneak
Yeah.
peek.
I love
Oh
that.
my
I
goodness.
love that.
But okay, I'm literally again, so excited for this episode. Are we ready to get into our social media X? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
I also m so you guys know, so I messaged Jessica today, basically being like, "Okay, I think we need to do this where it's, like, back and forth." Like, we wrote them out. I just like because I wrote mine on paper, but I saw like so I can see some of hers in like our Asana where we plan. But okay.
Mhm.
I'm
I love it. I
excited.
think I think I can also, like, ad lib as well. Like,
Yes.
if
Oh
I
yeah.
think that we can come up with more as
Oh
we
yeah.
keep going.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
okay. Who do you want to start?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
Links and captions that you can't click. links and captions.
Oh boy, I feel like we need sound effects, but you guys, I can make my own sound effects. Oh my gosh.
Just our I feel like also our reactions, like our because again, like I said, Jessica
Yeah.
didn't know I was gonna say that one. So like this can be good B-roll for our
Mhm.
Instagram clips, Harmony.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ugh, so good. Okay. Mine is every time a client says, "Let's go viral."
Mhm. Mhm.
A part of me is thinking,
Magic
"Okay, this
wand.
is" right. It's like,
Boop.
"Gotcha. This is I've got a little lever. I can just pull it. Got it. I don't pull it for all clients, but I'll pull it just for you." But it seems
Mhm.
to be it's always something that a client says, it's always out of the blue, right? They're launching something new or they have something. They're like, "We just need this to go viral." Okay,
Yep.
noted.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. I got another one.
Okay.
Bios that have six-figure or seven-figure, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anything that's like six-figure, seven-figure, and dare I say
Mhm,
even when they're like 17 plus years of working, or even I can kind of understand the how
mhm,
much you've worked in whatever industry,
mhm.
but I feel like your content should speak for that, and that should be a part of your messaging in general, that it
Yep,
doesn't need to be in your bio.
yep,
That
yep.
might be a
And I
hot
think
take.
if we're gonna say 6 and 7 figure, like, entrepreneur or whatever, we need a disclaimer. Tell me when that was. Because if you're
And
counting your, like, 5 years of business, we gotta talk.
and also, what are your expenses? Like, what
Yes, right.
is that actually your profit?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
correct. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna add I'm gonna add one. I just thought of this,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
because
mhm,
I wanna hear your take on this. When it's in the bio as well, but when they say clients featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur,
mm,
GQ, People Magazine, I don't know, I'm just trying to name, like, top, like, media outlets that I can think of.
mhm.
For me, if you are featured in those outlets,
Were you the
okay.
cover? Like, were you like, where it's like, were you just a little blurb?
Right. If you are featured in those, fine. I really would also love to know, like, how are you featured? Like, did you pay a
Mhm.
publicist $5,000 to be in this one blip on a Forbes article? Or did, like, Forbes reach out to you, "Hey, so and so, you're an expert in blah, blah, blah." We know which way it works in that one. But when someone says that my clients are featured in XYZ, 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 because in my head, we've worked with clients who are featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, GQ, like product, service bases. Like they've been picked up on so many different outlets. Like I'm probably missing like so many big ones as well. But
I have one I could add, has been featured in Vogue. That's one,
yeah,
but, like, but you wanna know where that client was featured in Vogue? The very last page almost, like, which was super cool, and it was a flex,
mhm,
but
right.
again, where I to
Right.
me, I'm like, when I feel like then your average, not consumer, but like, your audience member, a lot of
Mhm,
people are reading that and are thinking like, "Oh my gosh," like, that is, and it
mhm.
is cool. It is a flex, but you wanna know where I
Yeah.
think that belongs? I think that belongs in your email signature.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
where, because I actually just recently was emailing a wedding planner in Boston, and she had in her email signature the best wedding planner, and I think it was Vogue, but it was like
Mhm,
years 2022 and 2023,
mhm.
you know. And
Yep.
I'm like that
Right.
because again, where it's like like again, you're the brides that are you're emailing, like,
Mhm.
okay, that's going to be
Yeah.
cool for them, and they
Right.
can
Right. And if
ask
you
more
can
about
link
it.
it, yep, you can
Yeah,
link
and link
directly to that
it.
article. Perfect. Yes, that's perfect. But where it's linked in the bio and it's like, I've got to go to Forbes and I can't see what it is, put it in your link page. Put it in, which I don't think it really makes sense there anyway, because it's like, why are we trying to send everyone away from your website? But okay, I digress.
Okay, wait, I have one more bio one then. And this is
Okay.
like I so full disclosure, like I was asking the girls who I work with at the boutique some of theirs, and I wanted to include some of them because
Mhm.
while yes, I am a social media marketer, like I'm also a human. In case anybody's wondering, like I
Yeah.
actually use social media for personal use as well.
Mhm.
And this is an ick. And this I've only seen with younger generations, but like why? And that is they're couples and they claim their partner in their bios. Like it'll be like heart at Brennan Digan. Like
Mhm.
what? Why are
I
we doing that? Because you wanna know what that gives me? That's a red flag that you're not going to
Mhm.
last. I am sorry. You don't
Yeah.
trust the other person.
Mhm.
Yikes.
Agreed. Agreed. Oh, that's a good one. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah, because I feel like that's not necessary at all. Like, especially too, like, if you're private. Because now I'm like,
Right.
I I don't know, I'm like, I need better information in the bio than
Mhm.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. This one is for I think for social media managers, but just honestly for anyone using social media, like, one size fits all strategies
I
when
have
people
that on. I also have
yeah,
that one.
when people give them, and then when people, because I think, and I don't think there's any fault to thinking like, "Oh, this is what I need." But I get why they're like, "Oh, this is, like, exactly what I need," when 9 out of 10 times they are sharing those strategies and they're doing other things as well. Like, I I frequent the Facebook ads library. You can search it, Facebook ads library, and you can look up any brand and see what ads are currently running, and so if they're preaching organic strategies and they're not spending any ad dollars, like, "Okay, let me just take a little peek see."
Yes.
I do also I do also go in there for inspiration, but I mainly use it for my detective work.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Adding to that one, I had cross promoting slash posting on every platform. And what I mean by that is when you're sharing your Instagram post on your threads, it's copy paste and like that's your strategy. Like that's it. You're just like, yeah, like yep.
Mhm,
And so it go your Instagram post goes to Facebook, it goes to threads and I'm like, why?
mhm.
Like and again,
Yeah,
I just no, I don't like it. I don't like it because I think you can take that same message, like whatever your Instagram message is, and you can
mhm.
just tweak it to be a
Yeah,
thread. Like it literally could be the same type of message, but like literally tweak it. I hate
yeah,
that like you're being lazy. You're being lazy by just being like,
yeah. Agreed, agreed, and I think the same could go for, like, Facebook too,
yeah.
like, where there's no link, there's hashtags, it's like, I mean,
Mm.
come on, we can
Mhm.
do a little bit better of a job with scheduling and just optimizing it a little bit better, and then I think too, like, when I go on a Pinterest account and it's all really small
Oh.
squares,
Mhm. Oh my
I
gosh.
just don't
That's
that
an
one.
ick.
I'm adding
Ick.
that one.
Ick.
Like, that yeah.
Yep. Ick.
I'm like, "Why?"
Like do it Pinterest size, please.
Yes. Yeah, at least, like, oh my goodness, Canva, magic, whatever,
Boop.
magic something,
We Harmony,
resize.
we need a
Yeah.
sound. Like boop.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Wait, that was you. Okay, my turn.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, not using captions on Instagram stories. Like I can't remember the stat, but it's like
Mhm.
majority of people are not watching your stories with sound.
Yeah.
So whether you're using like in that's I feel like that's why Instagram made the closed captions or even if it like
Mhm.
Jessica and I have been okay. Another episode idea is like the evolution of social media. I actually think I added that one into recently,
Mhm.
but just
Yeah.
like how before, just so you youngsters out there, where there was a time when Jessica and I would have to literally type out what we were saying in our stories. So use that closed caption.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know how lucky they are.
Right.
Um, okay, I know I kinda talked about the mean girl mentality a little bit earlier, but I think that's something that it's done in so many ways on social media. In I think it's I think it's in the way that people write copy on social media. I think people and I think some brands do this well. I think their copy is probably a whole topic for an episode because there are so many different ways that you can write certain things for whatever that goal is. And I think a lot of times people write copy and it's just so freaking mean for like a lack of a better, like more professional term. It's very like, again, it's kind of like to that point of the seven figures. Like, oh, I made seven figures. You want to know how to do it? Invest XYZ and I'll tell you my exact way. It's like, okay, like you're probably not going to tell me the exact way of how that goes. I think it goes with the mean girl mentality goes. I mean, obviously there's, cyberbullying has always been a thing. Even back in AIM days. I mean, we talked about AIM a
Yeah.
little while ago with Limited too. Like it's been
Mhm.
around for a while. I think, that goes without being said. But I think too, I think sometimes in the like business space, the online industry space, there's like I don't know if cyberbullying on that specifically is too much, but there's just a big it's like high school. That's the easiest way that I can think about it. It's high school, certain people are on the cool girls table, like that's not me. Like, I'm trying to be the all inclusive, like, everyone's a friend, like, welcome here environment because other people don't make that on social media. And I think that just rubs me the wrong way when I see anything related to that.
And, like, with the seven figures too, I will say one other thing is, like, I'm all for that, but it's like when okay, I'll add to that. It's when you're you just have that in your profile, but it's like you don't highlight your team. Like it's almost like where it's like, "Oh, poof, I got like it was all me." And granted, yeah, like a lot of it probably was you, but it's like it's
Mhm.
just again the misleading part behind it, because again, I want us all to be seven figures, but I feel like Jessica and I talk about this a lot like off the pod and just like I feel like the best way for me to explain this, like when Jessica and I become millionaires, there'll be signs. There will be signs. There will
Mhm.
be like a library in my home, my like the backdrop, like there will be signs, okay? But I
Mhm.
don't know if and like I just don't know if that's us either, where it's just like us ever being those type of women. I
Mhm.
again, who who knows?
Yeah.
But I'd like to we keep each other grounded.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Agree.
So
Mhm.
yes. So the mean girl,
Agree.
yes. Okay. Okay, here's another one. When posts that are like help us get to 1,000 followers because apparently that's still a thing and it gives me the ick and I'm like and oh it's the best when it's like help me get to 1,000 followers and they're at 700 followers and you're like
Mhm.
because and they're
Yeah.
like almost there and you're like
Mhm. Yeah.
I feel like that was mean girl of me to say like okay like you know what I'll comment but like that that isn't it.
Yeah. No, it is because it's not okay. I think similar but kind of different when they're like, if this reel or this post gets 10,000 or sometimes it's a
Views.
little crazier, like 100,000 views, then my boss is gonna send me to Bora Bora. Okay. Is your boss gonna send you to Bora Bora? Probably not. Will that get
Clickbait.
100,000 views? Maybe. What did those 100,000 views actually do for your business? Nothing. I think it goes along the same lines of
Mm,
why? But so
mm,
many brands do it, so I think a lot of people, like, also are like, "Okay, let's do that too."
yeah, yeah. Mhm. Okay. Do you have other I'm like, I still have a few more.
Okay. I probably have, like, one more that I can think of, and then
Okay. Okay, I'll
yes,
go then.
so
And the
yep.
okay. Another one is when the stories like you're posting like 5,000 stories a day and it's like at the top it's like all those tiny little like we get it.
Mhm.
We get it. So, like that. Um, okay, this was another one the girls told me, and it made me laugh because it was very
Mhm,
again, I work with a lot of early 20-year-olds, like, so Gen Z.
mhm,
Um, and they were saying so I'm kind of out of this phase, but I laugh because I still see it, and that is your wedding pictures when couples will be like, "A month of being married," or, like, when it's, like, every single Father's Day or
mhm.
whatever, they're just posting the pictures, but what made me laugh is it's Brennan's birthday today, and I told them, I was like, "Well, I guess I won't be posting our wedding pictures because" I was like, "You guys called me out, and you're right." Like, granted, I don't post our wedding pictures, like, honestly, like, I don't even know if I've posted I'm the worst, I don't even think I have a wedding album on Facebook, but, like, I should, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and
but
that's
anyway,
on being a social media manager for not
yes,
for not that.
100%.
That's so
100%.
oh my
Um,
gosh.
okay, and then okay, a few one other one that the girls, at work were saying, I was like, "That yep." And that's when people post the whole concert in their stories, which I feel like goes with similar with, like, posting, like, 5,000 stories a day, but I was like, "Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one." And I even, like again, on being a social media manager, when I went to the Eras tour, asked me I think I've shared one post. It's just in the camera roll. It's just in the camera
Yep,
roll.
yeah. Oh, that's
Um
a good
Okay, and then okay, I have 2 more. So
one. Okay.
engagement pods, which there's a
Ooh,
whole
yeah.
episode on engagement pods, so
Mhm.
check. And then the last one, and I'm calling myself out on this one because I've done
Ooh.
this and I make myself, I know it's Nick, but posting and ghosting, I'm getting better
Ooh.
about it. But like it is
Mhm,
Nick and I'm calling
mhm.
myself out, but yeah, it's Nick.
Oh, okay, that's a good one too, and I'll say as well, like, I think for me, like, because I do this with stories, I'll do, like, a stories takeover. You won't hear from me in months. Like,
Yeah.
I just I don't know what it is. I need to, like, get into a better mentality about it, and I think it all, like, stems back to the start of the episode. We were talking about practice it, but yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
those were so, so good. Also, like, what I was thinking of is that it's so random, but I don't u I don't use, like, my personal social media, like, too much. Honestly, I go
Right,
back and forth. Like, I'm always
right.
kind of, like, sifting through, like, all the accounts, which maybe that's, like, a social media ick, like,
Right.
no one ever knows, like, where I'm gonna be or who I'm gonna like, what account I'm gonna send a post
Yep,
from.
yep.
But the I'm all I always see content. She's, like, my number one person that I see content from, which I don't know why, like, I never see, like, anyone else's, but I always see, like, our wedding photographer's content, and I just I don't love the content she posts because I read it from, like, the marketer perspective of,
Mm.
like, this could be, like, a blog post or, like, this could be, like, something else, but
Mm.
she does because she recently, like, had her first child, and so she recently started doing more, like, I guess, family photography, but a part
Mhm.
of me, like, thinks, like, how funny would, like, a campaign for, like, um, photographers be? Like, market to those people who don't have any updated photos of their husbands or wives or significant others because all they do is post the wedding pictures, like, 3 years later.
My
Or, every time it's like, "Oh, it's national, like, um, wedding dress day,"
yeah.
"Share your with this." Like,
Well,
okay,
even
that's wedding specific, but you guys know what I mean.
yes. My sister, I kinda hope she's not listening to this episode, but you guys, she's been married for 10 years. 10 years. Almost it'll be 11 soon. Her
Mhm.
Facebook profile picture is still of her wedding picture of still of her. I'm like, "You've had 2 children, woman." Like, she still looks very like, she still looks
Mhm.
the same, but I'm like, "You don't look like that."
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
like,
I love yeah,
it's been
that's
10
so
years. It's been
but
10 years. Like
but now I feel like, oh my goodness, the day that she does change it, like, I mean,
It's
like, Meta will
it's gonna
crash.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, exactly, because it's like people are like, "Oh, oh."
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we definitely need to hear from all of your
Yes.
social media icks because I'm sure there's some that we didn't even cover, and I
And we
just think it
want
would be so
we
good.
want
Yeah.
personal too. Like, I feel like where it's like, again, some of those were, like I said, the concerts and all of that, but, like,
Mhm.
I think we
Yeah.
can all collectively agree. Sorry
Yeah.
if you are one of those people who are listening, don't come for us. We do
Yeah. I
love
mean, some
you.
saves me a lot of money on like concerts though. I mean, I can just because you can just I can visit them. Like some people capture really good content, like especially like influencers that I follow who go to the concerts. Like, I mean, they're giving you full like set lists, like in their like
Yeah.
stories. So yeah, but yeah,
Especially
any
but again, the people who I die laughing though, where it's like the people who will live record Taylor's
hmm
surprise songs where I'm like, "You guys are the OGs though." But again, you
yeah,
guys do it live, like or
right,
like and then it's like a whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
But
No,
wow.
it's a lot. I mean, they're doing like the Lord's work, but it's also like at the same time a little too much. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
More power
goodness.
to
Those were
them.
good
More
though. Those were good. I'm glad the girls from the boutique gave a couple as well because it was good to
Yes.
have like yeah. But
I will let them know too. And I hope I told them I was going to mention this. So if girls are listening, thank you.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. Well, I know we're probably at the end of this week's episode, which is fine. I'm back, so we'll be back again in our weekly
Yay.
cadence of things. We're definitely gonna rope Harmony in on doing an episode because why not? I feel like it would just be like our planning calls in an episode, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I had major FOMO when I heard their episode together. So but it was
Yes,
so
please.
great. And yeah, so appreciative to you, Madeline, for holding down the fort for the past couple weeks. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening throughout this whole episode. If you're still here at this point, for kind of welcoming back. And yeah, please let us know social media X. And Madeline, I have to say, I'm so rusty, so I feel like I need you to close us out.
Yes. Okay. So, as you guys know, I will be including all the things we mentioned today, like our book recommendations, what we watched, some resources for those of you who maybe you're managing a faceless account. I didn't mention it, but I'm here I am mentioning it. But Paxia, I've mentioned it before, which is great, like stock video. I'll include that link. And then um, if you guys want to, welcome Jessica back. You know how you're going to do that? You're going to submit a hashtag hotline submission. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way
Like
we
that.
can
That's
welcome her
good.
back. And then we would love your review too, just so that you could make us feel all warm and cozy inside. Let us know if you guys have any recommendations or topics you want us to discuss again. Hashtag hotline. And we will catch you guys on the airways next week. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.